What is the most violent thing you've witnessed? I'm a news reporter who often has to attend events, and by living in Coruscant, I've seen a lot of messed up things. A few months back, I had to cover Tolerance Day. For those who haven't heard the story yet, here it is. The Order has long hoped for a day celebrating the shared experience and peace between the two factions of Force sensitives, the Jedi and the Sith. Over the last few months, Jedi Master Cal Corvus worked together with Sith Lord Darth Varric and brought their disciples together to prepare a performance for the audience of an a cappella show being put on by 8 to the Bar, a longtime friend of the Jedi Order. It was meant to be a day of peace, in which completely scripted battles were to be fought on stage, with the foes shaking hands and walking away in peace upon their completion. Of course, this was not the case. Darth Varric scandalously arrived, flask in hand, completely intoxicated. Master Corvus went so far as to promise that not a single performer was going to die. Some in the audience, such as myself, were skeptical, but this production had been rehearsing for months, so surely these few Sith had learned to get along with their Jedi counterparts. Even still, the lineup on stage was enough to calm worried minds. 7 Jedi and only 3 Sith sat behind Master Corvus and Darth Varric as they addressed the audience. So on numbers alone, surely things couldn't end too badly. Or so I thought. The first fight began with a young Sith, Darth Maul, against their Jedi opponent, Tyenad Wayland. The Jedi and Sith filed off to separate sides of the stage as these two faced each other, both using signature shorter sabers. What had been a lovely performance, showing off the skills and control of both fighters, ended in tragedy when Maul seized their opportunity to strike a Jedi down. The audience was split between morbid joy and panic, but Darth Varric and Master Corvus quickly calmed the situation. 2 Jedi rescued the body of their friend and carried her off for a proper burial. All as Master Corvus attempted to pull a promise from Darth Varric that the Sith acolytes would behave for the rest of the performance. Varric, slurring and stumbling, offered no such assurance. That's when I knew for a fact that things won't go well. Jedi Knight ZP took to the stage next, with the praise of Master Corvus, and began presenting impressive saber twirls and her traditional forms. But the performance was interrupted by an unexpected entrance. That of Dark Lord of the Sith, Skyr Vane. He mocked the performance and the name of Tolerance Day, even sliding his cloak from his shoulders and throwing it into the face of the Master Jedi. Darth Varric seemed delighted by Vane's arrival and behavior, but Master Corvus was panicked. One of our reporters closer to the stage even heard that Vane was the reason this performance didn't happen last year, and his behavior quickly proved why. Unprovoked, Vane attacked ZP, and the Jedi valiantly defended herself, but ultimately was slain in a violent and unnecessary death. She was solemnly carried off by the other Jedi, while Vane sauntered off stage, having stolen ZP's saber and taunted Master Corvus. Only moments later, the curtains parted to reveal Vane slaughtering another of the Jedi backstage. One may now note the math. While this performance started with 7 Jedi and 3 Sith, not including their semi-peaceful leaders, a new Sith arrived and 3 Jedi were removed. Those numbers were much less comfortable now, with 4 Sith and only 4 Jedi. The audience seemed no less enthused as our reporters worried for their safety. Attempting to resume the day's festivities to their intended level of peace, Master Corvus took the reins of the ceremony and welcomed Jedi Knight Megan and Darth Pyridine to the stage. As always, the fight began beautifully, but these two succumbed to the allure of destroying their ancient enemy. However, Master Corvus reacted quickly in defense of his Jedi Knight, and intervened to prevent Pyridine from claiming another life for the Sith. Both walked from the stage, unscathed. Things felt as though they were turning around. The audience hadn't been witness to a death in at least 90 seconds, and next on stage were 2 Jedi Padawans, Keldar Morrell and Kesley Finn. But even this demonstration fell apart, as Finn seemed to accidentally stab through her fellow Jedi. Chastised and sobbing, Finn ran from the stage as Darth Varric unceremoniously dragged Morrell backstage. Even those of us in the back of the audience could sense Master Corvus' annoyance by this point in the night. He must have worked quite hard on this demonstration, and until this point, kept these longtime enemies from turning on each other, only for it to fall apart in front of a live audience. He brought the last fight on stage and went to sulk in the corner. Last to fight were Jedi Knights Arindo Sana and Lord of the Sith, Darth Titus Null. By now, the audience had a suspicion of how this fight would end, and it looked as though our expectations were to come true. Null charged to Sana, but was interrupted by the reappearance of Skyr Vane. In a twist, he murdered his fellow Sith out of pure bloodlust, and followed by crippling the knees of Sana. Both were taken backstage as, while the audience called for Bane's punishment, Master Corvus took the stage to destroy the Sith who had cut down so many others. The audience split into factions between those waiting in tense silence and those who cheered for retribution. The man who looked the victor shifted again and again. Bane kicked Corvus across the stage, but was pulled by the Force to his knees and punched across the face. Corvus stood triumphant, but for Bane to slice his eye open. The audience was caught, not knowing who the victor would be, until the tide turned. Corvus brought Bane to his knees, and when Bane tried to attack, Corvus stole his lightsaber. There was nothing for the Sith to do against the wiser Jedi Master, who blinded him and ran him through. With no more threat from this violent Sith, Master Corvus brought the entire performance group back on stage. And here was the real twist for the audience. If you're like me, and you wondered why no Jedi ever came to intervene in these many deaths, the answer was at the end all 8 Jedi walked back onto stage, alive and healthy, to end the performance. Master Corvus, you may note, is known for developing and mastering the new science of force healing, and so his students must have been carefully healing each other backstage. So rest assured, dear listener, the Jedi Order was more than capable of dealing with threats from the Sith. But still, I can't remove the images of violent murder from my head.